a tragic sight. Looks like we have a major American assault going in. Plenty of flamethrowers and a few BARs. Quite the assault force. Full Grenadier standing a bit badly though, as I've got my attention caught up by this half track. And I'm of course forced to pull them back quickly, and I have absolutely nothing here to actually shore up anything. And looks like yes, a full rout for me. Unable to actually resist this. Bike moving in to try and sort of reconnoiter, and realizing that it can't really stand out well against that. Half track, and let's return to me. Getting the Flammenwerfer upgrade, 2 Flammenwerfers for the cost of 1.5 flamethrowers for Pioneers. Since the flamethrowers have all of a sudden gotten some tweaks, and the half track flamethrower has in fact been made a lot more stable, and it's of course still powerful, plus you actually get 2 flamethrowers, so it's actually quite powerful in that way as well. But usually it didn't really do much. Pack setting up once more to cover this approach, and the flamethrower being fitted on this half track. This was actually a bit normally done by the Germans to really just fit flamethrowers on these half track and then throw them in, scorching away at everything with their slight armor. I also have a Kampfkraft center going up. Vengeance 1 for the infantry. Grenadiers initiating the attack, catching the attention of the Americans. 1 going down though, a bit tragic. But now the flamethrowers moving in, and there we go, a lot of fire, and 1 down already. 2, 3. Oh dear, this is a lot of fire. Oh dear, will these Americans be able to get out? And another mine is spotted. Trying to lay down one where I placed one, but of course I am too smart for that. Or at least I'd like to pretend that. And flamethrower continuing to scorch away the Americans. 5 down so far. Quite nicely already, and very little damage, and I'm certain it caught the Americans off guard. Mine cleared out, and we do see a bit of harassment over here. Riflemen moving into the north, and engineers also moving in to probably try and cut off this point. And we do see the first anti-tank gun moving in, which will certainly be handy against this half attack. But what is this? Moving away, probably to deal with these harassers, hoping they don't have sticky bombs, in which case this half track will have the definite advantage. Americans moving in, setting up here by the walls of the graveyard. This graveyard usually ends up taking a lot of punishment during fights, and usually ends up being what it would probably be described as desecrated. Volkswagen is once more laying down barbed wire to prevent any passing through here. And the bike once more moving in, and we do see a medic bunker set up here, a bit far away, not too close but still accessible for the medics to reach, but not accessible for the enemy. And what do we have here? Flame for a half track, unleashing fiery death upon the riflemen. 1 down already. How many more will die before they are retreated? And apparently only 1. Still a lot of fire, very impressive looking, very incendiary, and certainly a very sad ending for that rifleman. Looks like 1 was caught on the retreat. And there we go, engineers moving in to do a bit of harassment there, but they are spotted by the Pioneers, which of course prompts this half track to move in. And Sturmgeschütz 4, Stug 4 moving in, just in case, and of course just to provide some extra firepower, you never know. There we go, engineers getting toasted, flamethrowers being flamethrowed, or flammenwerft. And another half track, possibly this time not with a quad upgrade, possibly just to act as a reinforcement point. Not sure why he hasn't manned it with an engineer team to just man that 50 caliber gun. It's actually nicely effective, can suppress, can kill. I've certainly used it a few times, and I've certainly not been disappointed. And what do we also have? A mortar team, Granatenwerfer 34. Always helpful for the front. And we do have a bit of a broken wall down right here in the cemetery. Pioneer sneaking about, trying to set up a mine here to cover any approaches here, since it can certainly be a good attempt. Just sneak through here and attack any positions. Grenadiers moving in. I'm not entirely sure if I'm actually aware of the 57mm anti-tank gun at this moment. I probably am, I just probably heard it fire. Mortar setting up. And the Grenadiers and Pioneers here preventing any direct rushes through here. Not entirely sure what they're going to do. And we see a medic station, of course, a brief pause. As of course I have talked about placement of medic stations and medic bunkers and casualty clear stations. There are some good tips and some bad tips. Bad tips would be saying place them right out in the open, right close to the enemy. That's bad. Bit better would, for example, been up here. It would still have been close to the front line, but it wouldn't have been so accessible for me. And that's of course the important bit. You want it accessible for your medics to reach all the wounded, but you also don't want it to be accessible for the opponent, in this case me, to actually get it and knock it out with ease. Anyhow, let's return. Medic station going up. And most of the German forces of the 352nd lining up here. Mortars firing away. As I do believe I've actually spotted this mortar, this anti-tank gun, of course, with these. And I'll just briefly pause here again. Buildings do provide increased line of sight, and thanks to this I can actually see right behind this church and see what's going on here, and what I see is a lot of targets of opportunity for my mortar. And of course I'm already bombarding here, but this is certainly already going to put a lot of pressure on the assault, since it's going to be right in the interception, getting bombarded, and it's really going to mess things up. Half-track maneuvering in, no pack nearby though, so it's certainly going to be a bit of a boon for the half-track. Pioneers getting too close though, and we'll have to retreat. And there we go, flame for a half-track moving in. Fiery death awaits all who oppose the Wehrmacht, and there we go, already several Americans dead, even more dead, that's already 4. Okay, I lost track, there's just so much fiery death. Infantry team down, and the half-track finally gets out there, having scored, I don't know how many kills in so very little time, and behold all those scorched corpses. Half-track acting as a sort of barrier and reinforcement points, the thing that's holding the Americans really together, but really I think they ought to have retreated by now. All of this mortar fire, the half-track, Grenadiers moving in, and now of course the Stug strafing run moving in, pinning down the forces right here. The strafing run has of course been made so it's not really that effective against more lonely targets, more against blobs, and these troops are certainly not blobbed in. Engineers trying to rush, but fail. Stug actually trying to outmaneuver this anti-tank gun only a little more, and this gun will be cleared out, but Stug does not have any luck. But there we go, Flammenwerfer to the rescue, scorching everything once more. And we do have a bit of a mess up there in logistics. Sticky bomb going off on the Stug. A bit of perhaps the wrong choice. The half-track would certainly have been the better choice, since it's probably a bit more of a threat. And there we go, even more riflemen and engineers just being scorched, caught in all of this fire. And another sticky bomb, fresh riflemen and engineers moving in. Things are really looking bad for him again. I do really think he picked the wrong fight here, right out in the open. Graveyard is remarkably resilient. I've still not chosen a doctrine though, so we'll have to see how that goes. Half-track is in a really bad spot. Grenadiers have chosen a BAR to be pilfered from any dead Americans. Mortar rounds once more landing with no prejudice, and we see Inspired Assault being chosen. There we go, it's actually fired off. Inspired Assault makes them much more accurate, not more accurate, but more damaging, and fire much faster. So now the riflemen will certainly be drowned out in terms of firepower. They will of course be more easy to hit, but with heavy cover it's certainly going to be negated a bit. Mortar round knocking out the half-track and the medic station, absolutely horrific, and these forces are really slaughtering. Another mortar round hitting again. The last place you want to have any prolonged fight is right in the field of fire of the mortar. So there we go, a quick bit of a fight. Partly why I chose this, of course, to show that really the flamethrower half-track has been improved. It's actually worth its cost now, and of course if you're thinking an LMG 42, why not instead say, hey, why not get a half-track with a flamethrower? It actually does something compared to the LMG 42 at the moment. So, of course, also to note, of course, is medic station placement. Of course, where you choose your fights. You don't really want to be standing out in the open with all of these firing first Grenadiers and Grenadiers, of course mortars. I know it can be hard sometimes, you really just want to crush the frontal line of defense, again you will break, but sometimes it's just too hard, and of course if your opponent's being really clever they can really end up backfiring. I mean, had he perhaps been a bit more clever in choosing other avenues of attack, it might have gone better, and of course a mortar of his own, even an armored car might have even been of help, and of course rushing in that half-track down here on its own. A bit of a gamble, and it didn't work out. You have to be careful with gambles. Yes, they can work out, but of course they can backfire quite nastily. So, I hope you enjoyed this fight, and if you did, why not subscribe or tell your friends, and if you didn't, well, why not send in a replay of your own and hope it might get casted. This is ImperialDane saying, flame for half-tracks, kick ass. Cheers.